Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to the first lecture of financial market and institutions. This is MBA, Major Finance, course code FIN 702. Today we will be studying our first chapter and also ending it with some intriguing insights regarding this course and regarding an introduction to the markets and institutions that we usually see in the financial sectors. In our previous class, we have discussed about our course outline, our mids, our finals, what should be the chapters, and how should we proceed in our in this semester. So today we'll be starting with why should we study financial markets and why should we study about financial institutions, some basic markets and some basic institutions, and eventually we'll learn about these markets in details in the next classes. And also we'll learn about those institutions in our forwarding lectures. We'll also do some mathematical problems regarding practical implications. And so let's start today's class with the question, why should we study financial markets? If you have any idea about financial markets, which is literally not a place to do trading or dealing, it's a place to buy and sell shares or any kind of monetary items. So why should we study the financial markets? Why is it so much important that we need to understand its concept? So the first point should be noted that the financial markets defines how an economy runs, and the stability of an economy depends on financial market. If we need to, or if we want to maintain our economic situation in any country, we need to look first at the financial markets. If you think that financial markets are unstable, that indicates that the economy of the country is unstable altogether. Because if you see a constant fall in the financial market or stock market, you can say stock market is a certain part of a broader financial market. But if you see constant fall in stock market, that doesn't mean that the economy is falling down. There can be multiple markets in an economy. So all those markets belonging to a country enhances the understanding of why should we learn about financial markets. Okay, so if we want to know the financial market, we need to learn about the economy first. And economic stability is the first reason that why should we study financial markets. So if we want to know another objective or importance of financial market, we can look forward to capital allocation. There can be multiple resources available in our country or in a system or in a market that needs to be allocated or used. Otherwise it will be unallocated and wasted after all. So to allocate capital efficiently to businesses and projects and investments, we must know how a country's financial markets are performing. If a financial market is not performing very well, then we can easily say that the capital allocation is not properly maintained, and the resources are going to waste to some extent. Another point can be mentioned that risk management is also a part of financial market. To manage a risk of financial market, you need to understand what the risks could be, what the financial risk means, financial risks here. So studying financial market, you can understand the risks, and you can learn and you can practice the management of those risks and to minimize those risks for your business or company. Another point can be mentioned that investment opportunities are also very much crucial. Why should we study financial markets? If you study that, then we can use those our knowledge to properly allocate our capitals or properly allocate our wealth in certain investments where we can get maximum in returns from that. So studying financial markets will offer us diverse investment opportunities to grow our wealth, to utilize our capitals very much efficiently and effectively, and thus we can say that investment opportunities will be utilized properly and fully. Finally, global interconnectedness will ensure that my country is aligned with another country. Financial markets in one country is always interconnected on a global scale, because developed countries in the world will always look forward to other countries to invest, and they will see the financial markets first, that how their financial markets are performing, and then they will try to invest in that country so that they can get a return, and the smaller country can be benefited through that financial help. So these are the 5 points. These 5 points are not limited to why should we study financial markets. These are just suggestions, and this can be just points to 5 points to study 15 more, 20 more points. You can find online more and more points regarding why should we study financial markets, but these are more or less basic and major study points. So moving on to why should we study financial institutions, we can also refer back to our why should we study financial markets. Both are closely similar, yet have some differences. So financial institutions work in financial market, and what are they? We will learn in our next classes onward today. So the first point can be mentioned that we have learned that economic stability can be ensured by understanding or studying the financial market. In this case, economic functionality can be understood by studying financial institutions. Financial institutions are very much essential for smooth functioning of the economy. Why? Because through financial institutions, savers and borrowers can interact between each other without any direct interaction, and the savers do not need to find the borrowers personally or vice versa. The financial institutions will do that work for both savers and savers and borrowers. So they are doing a very much essential job from their perspective and also from economic perspective. And with that example, we can move forward with intermediation. The financial institutions act as intermediaries between savers and borrowers, just as I said before. It facilitates the capital flow from saver to borrower. What does the saver do? Savers just save their income, save their wealth, who likes to save. But the borrowers need the money to invest or to lead their life, or just to invest in their needed places. spend as the necessity, that it's very difficult to find borrowers personally in some countries or in some cases, and it's also difficult to find savers who wants to invest or who wants to lend money to the borrowers. Personally, we cannot do that. So the financial institutions work as a bridge. You can say it can be a bridge who say what you can say that financial institutions work as a bridge between savers and borrowers, taking money from the savers and giving it to the borrowers. So there should be some kind of regulation and oversight or monitoring system, so that the financial institutions do not commit any crime or commit any fraud, and also they should not, as they perform a very vital role in the society, working as an agent of savers and working for the borrowers, transferring money from one to another. So there should be a regulation and oversight on the financial institutions. And sometimes if we study the financial institutions, we can also learn about their own regulation and oversight on their institutions. Fourthly, we can mention the monetary policy, which influenced by monetary policy decisions. Financial institutions working as agent or even working for the borrowers influence the monetary policy of a country, and also a monetary policy decision by the government can influence the financial institutions itself. Another important point is financial stability. Understanding financial institutions is key to maintaining financial stability. As we learned earlier about economic stability is quite similar to the financial stability. So now what we have just learned, let's say the same things what I have just said, let's see those things in a simple diagram. So let's see what the financial markets and what the financial institutions do. Here you can see on the top portion that there are financial intermediaries, and in the lower portion there are financial markets. Sorry. You can see on the left corner, bottom left corner, lender or savers. Lenders and savers can be households, business firms, government, and it can be foreigners too. So lenders and savers send the funds to the financial intermediaries, which goes to financial markets as well, and the financial intermediaries sends the funds to borrowers or spenders, which is at the bottom right corner. So borrowers can be business firms, it can be governments, it can also be households or individuals, it can also be foreigners too. So the fund moves to financial intermediaries and it goes to borrowers, senders, and it can also be going to financial markets, and financial markets will be the borrowers and senders will be taking the funds from the financial markets. So when the senders or savers lend the money to the financial market and the borrowers take the money from the financial market, that is called direct finance. There is no intermediaries, there is no one else between those two parties, just only the financial market, and this is called direct finance. And what about the indirect finance? Indirect finance is the upper portion, if you can see, that lenders sending the money to the financial intermediaries and they distribute the funds to the borrowers or spenders. So that's the indirect finance, and intermediaries send the funds to the financial markets as well. So that's how the financial intermediaries and financial markets work all together. So now let's move on to the types and securities of financial market. One is there can be multiple markets, but we will discuss about only three here. One is primary and secondary. The second one is money market and capital market, and the third one is debt market and equity market. So firstly, let's move on to primary and secondary market. So here we can see another diagram. We are using diagrams because diagrams are very much easy to understand rather than page 2 or 3 pages of writings. One diagram can explain much more than a one-page paragraph. So let's see about the primary markets. The subheading mentions that primary markets are the markets where new issues of financial instruments are offered for sale. Meaning that there will be no second institution or individual who is buying the securities. Means users of fund who are usually for example corporations issuing debt or equity instrument. We can say from the perspective of our country that companies issuing shares in our stock market, they are the main users of funds, and then it funds they're issuing shares to get funds from the market. So when they send the funds or the corporation is issuing the debt instrument or equity instrument, they're underwriting it with the investment bank, and the flow will move on to initial suppliers of funds. That means the investors. To simplify, investors are taking share percentage or share instruments or equity instruments from the corporation, i.e. user of funds, through the investment bank directly, and they are giving the money to the investment bank, which goes to the corporation itself directly. So there is no intermediaries, there is no one second to the market, and there will be no underwriting with any other parties or agents or anyone else. So that's the primary market. So what about the secondary market? Secondary market are the markets where financial instruments once issued are traded. That means primary market is the first market where the instruments are issued, but the secondary markets are the market where those issued shares are traded here for the second time. It can be third, fourth, fifth. That means more than once that has been issued are traded in the secondary market. So here as an example we can see that economic agents wanting to sell securities to the financial market, then the economic agents, i.e. investors wanting to buy securities. That means here we can talk about individual selling and buying process. In our stock market we see that investors buy and sell their shareholder shares, and they can also implement they can also hire economic agents on behalf of them to sell and buy their shares. That market is secondary market. So to simplify, companies issue their shares in primary markets, and the investors directly buy that share. When that particular investor sells share to another investor, and that another investor buys from the first investor, then that's the secondary market, and the first one is called the primary market. So let's move on to our money market and capital market. Money market is usually defined within 1 year maturity. The money market securities are usually of 1 year maturity, and more than one, the instruments are belong to capital markets. Suppose money market instruments can be treasury bill, federal funds, repurchase agreements, commercial paper, negotiable certificates. It can be bankers acceptance later also. But the capital market securities are much more stable and much more stronger than the money market securities. They usually hold 5 to 10 years to up to 30, or it can be no specified maturity, infinity. So those things or those instruments are capital markets securities. If we can mention the instruments, those can be corporate stocks, mortgages, corporate bonds. It can be treasury bonds too, state and local government bonds, US government agency bonds, bank and consumer loans. Those are examples of US on the perspective of US. Now, students, your assignment is to find money market instruments and capital market instruments from the perspective of Bangladesh. So you need to come up with the names of the instruments with their maturity, or from the perspective of Bangladesh. So let's move on to our debt market and equity market. So let's see what debt market means. It can also be called bond market or credit market. So it's usually a place, a financial market, obviously not a place. A place means a market. We understand market by Shopno, Agora, or it can be our local grocery stores. But here, financial market is when you talk about a place or market, in this course we will refer to financial market every time. So in a market, where participants can issue new debt or buy and sell existing debt securities is called the debt market. When a company issues new debt securities and investors buy that's the debt market. It can be primary or secondary, that doesn't matter, but when selling or buying debt securities, that will belong to debt markets. What about equity market? A stock market, equity market, or share market, meaning stock market, equity market, and share market, three of those are same. We call them as equity market. In our country, we call them share market, which is the aggregation of buyers and sellers of shares. It can be primary or secondary, that doesn't matter, but selling stocks or shares in market is called the equity market. So from the perspective of US or worldwide, we can identify some types of financial institutions. The first one is the commercial banks. We will learn about these institutions in depth in our next classes. So first one is the commercial banks. We already know about commercial banks. Our leading industry, one of the leading industries, our banks in our country. So what about thrifts? What are those thrifts? In this class, we will just know the types of financial institutions, and in our next class we will be learning in depth of each and every one of them. So here is another type of financial institutions, that is insurance companies. Another one is securities firms and investment banks. We are familiar with it, but we are not familiar with thrifts, right? So we'll study about it in the next class. Some more types of financial institutions are financial companies, investment funds, pension funds, and the last one is fintechs. Fintechs usually is a new concept in financial institutions which works with digital finance. So we'll also learn about it. It is very much important, and it is a new concept which we should know about. So with this topic, we will be closing this session today, and in our next class we will learn about the roles of financial institutions that we have just discussed right now, and we'll be continuing towards financial markets, in-depth financial markets, and we'll learn about it in the next classes, inshallah. Thank you very much for attending today's class. We'll inshallah see you in the next class. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.